Good afternoon.
Hi, Tony. How are you?
I'm well, sir. How are you?
Not too bad at all. Thank you very much. It's kind of interesting. I was doing a little bit of background homework. You were in the home building and you're back in the home building, right?
Yeah, I've been in home building most of my career. I worked in manufacturing when I was putting myself through college, but
Right.
otherwise, I've either worked for a home builder or consulted with home builders and building product companies.
So you were there through the obviously the pandemic shift, the softwood lumber thing, all of these factors, right?
Yeah, yep,
Wow.
right,
Wow.
certainly.
Well, listen, let me give you a little bit of background on me and what we're doing, so you understand the point. I don't want to take a lot of your time. I really appreciate it. I'm an independent analyst. I've been in high tech for 40 plus years and procurement almost as long. And what I do is I conduct an interview without the solution provider available. And I don't ask features, functions, benefits. This is a natural interview. It's not rehearsed, no questions in advance. I just want to get an idea on a couple of basic things in relation to this. Like again, first of all, one of the things that come to my mind is how did you come across ProPurchaser? I mean, did you find them? How exactly did you come to choosing them?
Yeah, I found them years and years ago. I've been on that platform. I don't know what year they started, but I bet I was pretty.
2001. They started 2001.
Yeah, I don't know how far back my membership goes because it would span three different companies, but it's been a long time. But
Wow.
I searched for them one time when I was looking for a commodity tracking um, site, if you will.
Right. Like an index, something that can give you the idea of what's going on there. Well, now, okay, now in perspective, because this is interesting to me, is from what they were doing when you first started working with Rod and his team, and Rod's expertise is obviously quite in depth, and to where they are today. It seems, has there been a consistency? Has there been a lot of upgrades? Like, in terms of all these years, you've got the context of real perspective here dealing with the organization. I mean, what are they like to work with over that long of a period of time?
It's always been a great company to work with. As far as upgrades, I think they've expanded the amount of commodities that they've done, and they've added a training module and should cost model. So they have continuously improved that application for sure. And I think that, it's better known now. Back in the early days, you'd have to kind of explain to people what ProPurchaser was, right? And why you were doing it. And I remember I would focus more on their data source than trying to explain to people what ProPurchaser was. But now it's still not a household name, but it's a lot better. It's a lot more well known than it was.
Okay, now you know over that period of time, there's been other solutions introduced, there's options, there's indexes, and all of these things. Have you looked at those, or have you even considered looking at those? Or if you did, is it just like what keeps you with Pro Purchaser? And I'm asking this because as a CPO, we're not looking for 8 by 10 glossies. And what my mother wrote my resume for me and gave me a thing. I mean, to be with somebody for the period of time, I imagine. I mean, what's kept you there? Like, especially with other solutions that are being introduced, because right now, I'm sure the solution maps are crowded with logos.
Yeah, it's just a platform that I know and I trust. It's easy to use. I love the fact that I can, build a should cost model and I can go out before I'm gonna go into a supplier meeting and just see what those cost drivers are done and the fact that they're, you know, automatically updated. And it's something that I've found value in. I've used it as an individual for a lot of years. This is the first year that I've expanded it to where the whole team's using it. I did that specifically because I wanted to do training on should cost models, and I made that part of their goal. And I required them to watch all the training videos and to actually build should cost models. And it's one of those things with purchasing people, you kind of get pushed back until they start seeing the value in it. And then,
Right.
that
How
is,
was adoption when you expanded it beyond yourself? Were there any bumps or hiccups or resistance?
there's always any change has resistance. So there was
Right.
certainly resistance because, the first time somebody had used it and they talked to, skilled trade or, a supplier, and there's, pushback because they've got, a material supply increase letter, and they're used to just being able to, operate on those. But when you're actually going down and say, yep, I understand that fuel went up, but steel went down, or whatever the case may be, and you're looking at the whole commodity basket. And um, I think, I think there's always going to be pushback, but there's enough people that have, had some wins in it. It's allowed me
Right.
to, I was very deliberate about it. We have category team calls monthly. We have what we call an all hands call monthly. So category team one meets week one, category two, week two, three, and four. So, I assigned it to where they had to do the training, they had to talk about it on a category call, and then we assigned managers to talk about it at the all hands call. And, so we really, I look for opportunities to have consistent but redundant communication on it. So I think it's, um, people have accepted it now. Some
Right.
have embraced it, some haven't
Not as much, but
accepted it. Yeah.
But obviously, with your experience, there's that old saying of "it ain't broke, why fix it" kind of scenario. You know it, and one final thing, which I think is important. Everyone talks about the emergence of AI and larger systems. I mean, first of all, does it operate as a standalone, or is it integratable, or are you planning to integrate it in some way into the company's main, let's say, ERP or any other thing like that? Or how do you use it as?
Yeah, we use it as a standalone system.
Right? So it's basically you use it as a tool, accomplish the objectives you want, and then you put it through a main system when you do the ordering, et cetera, that you've established without having. Now, is it an inconvenience not to have a direct, download, if you will, or sharing of data between the two platforms?
Not for a home builder. A home builder buys most of their items on an installed basis. So,
Right,
you know, I, d- I'm not buying aluminum. I'm not buying steel, right? I'm
right,
buying finished goods that have those components and a lot of others. And I'm not buying the finished good either. I'm buying it installed. So
right.
there wouldn't be, even if it was, if it had a plug, I wouldn't have anything within E1 to connect it to. We're not a manufacturer. We're a
Right.
home builder.
Okay. Okay, well, listen, that's and you can see unrehearsed. The whole idea is that with this, I've recorded this video, and there's a choice. I can write a summary based on our discussion, but I find that the authenticity of videos when I'm talking to people and they can see them is good. Would you mind if I use this recording?
No, it's fine. I would also say, I'm not sure about this specific. We use Microsoft Teams, and with Microsoft Teams, they have, an AI component where you can
Right,
actually provide you the script of what's said. But yeah, I'm fine with that. I'm a big proponent of the platform. I hope it's around for a lot of years. My only concern is that, as it gets more expensive, is it something that I'm going to be able to do, within our department budget? Because
right.
it's tight, even though we're trying to show people the value and the savings associated with it, it's there's always cost pressures.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And you see, and that's one of the reasons why I like talking with you is because if you look at most case studies, if you look at most their glossies, they talk about features, functions, benefits, or whatever. But at this stage, the consistency that I'm finding is that you use it, you drive it. I mean, it's a tool to you. It doesn't replace you, or doesn't doesn't make you better in terms of it can do it on its own. But what it does do is empowers you to do more effectively, get access to information on a more timely basis. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I would use, there's one that we use specific outside of ProPurchaser specifically to lumber commodities because that's a large part of our cost driver.
Right.
And they have continued to enhance it, enhance it, enhance it on all these features that we just don't use because we're a home builder and not a lumber yard
Wow.
or a mill. And they keep increasing the costs. And this is probably the last year that we'll have a subscription to it because it's just gotten, they've added all these bells and whistles, none of which we use, and they've charged for those. So
In other words, you had no option but to accept them.
you know,
So they built it for everyone, a mass-produced thing rather than
well,
zeroing in.
they build it with one specific customer in mind, the lumber yard, the mills, the producers, if you will.
Right.
And I'm not a producer. I find value in the tool, but now that they want to charge me for all those other features and benefits that are beneficial to that specific target customer, they price themselves out of it for me, and I'll be
Wow.
to leave it because the cost is no longer, there's not an ROI in it for me. And that's the one thing, I think Rod and ProPurchaser team have kept a very open mind in that, look, this is something that could be used in all industries, right? So if the intent of this exercise though is to hone in on a specific, suppose it's the manufacturing sector, you may develop bells and whistles and plugins to where it can work with their ERP system, that if there's a cost to all users for that, you'll price yourself out of the market for us.
Exactly. It makes it readily accessible and adaptable to the individual requirement.
Yeah.
All right. Well, listen, I really appreciate your time today. Again, it's frank conversation, and that last part about the pricing out and the way the industry is going, you're right. And I think that that's one of the advantages of an organization like a Pro Purchaser, where they're more still dealing with the solution business to meet their clients' needs. Rather, there's that old analogy: build a hammer and then look for nails to hammer. That's not what they do. So I think that's what drew me to them. Anyway, Tony, thank you so much for your time today. I just wish you a good, happy holiday season, and hopefully we'll talk again in the future.
Well, thank you. Merry Christmas. Have a good weekend.
Merry Christmas.